Good morning, everyone. This is Debbie Royce, Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation's Corporate Secretary. I'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting, and before we formally begin, I would ask everyone to please mute your line unless you're speaking. We'll begin today by taking a roll call of the directors to ensure we have a quorum present on the line. Please be so kind as to say present when you hear your name. Chairman Robert Joya.
Present.
Julie Barnese.
Present.
Connie Leiden.
Present.
Mike Vogel.
Present.
And was Mikhail Matua able to join us? And I know Mayor Brown is going to be joining us, but we can get started.
Shatora is here.
Oh, hi, Shatora. Good morning.
Good morning.
Shatora Donovan. And I believe Mayor Brown will be joining us when he is able to dial in. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining today. And Chairman Joya, you'll be ready to begin.
Thank you, Debbie. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the directors of the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation for Monday, September 12th, 2022. Before we get started, as Debbie mentioned, please ask everyone please to mute their phone until you're ready to speak. And also, for the record, I will ask that anyone wishing to speak, please be sure to state your name before you begin. I'd like to note for the record that in accordance with current legislation, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I will also note for the record that the public was given an opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 4:30 p.m. on Friday. I'd like to state for the record that no comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant written materials in advance of today's meeting and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I would like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest to any of the agenda items. If so, I would ask that you please make the appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. Hearing none, I would like to call on Steve Rinaldi to present the first item on today's agenda, a request for the corporation to amend its relicensing settlement agreement and its industrial incentive award agreement with the New York State Power Authority. Steve?
Thank you, Robert, and good morning, everybody. Since 2006, the New York Power Authority has provided annual payments worth a little over $72 million to the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation in support of our work along the Buffalo waterfront. Earlier this year, we reopened discussions with NYPA in an effort to accelerate the final payments and increase the present value of investments at Canal Side and the Outer Harbor. Announced by Governor Hochul on August 15th, these negotiations have resulted in accelerating both of NYPA's payment streams to ECHDC. Earlier this year, the NYPA Board of Directors authorized the conversion of the payment schedule under the relicensing agreement, and ECHDC will receive an equivalent lump sum relicensing agreement payment of $27,098,818 to support economic development and revitalization activities within the vicinity of the Buffalo waterfront. And subject to approval by their board of directors, NYPA will also authorize a conversion of the payment schedule under the Industrial Incentive Award. ECHDC would receive an equivalent lump sum Industrial Incentive Award payment of $27.1 million for economic development and revitalization activities, including planning, design, and construction, operations and maintenance, programming, security, property acquisition, utility work, and related activities at property owned or maintained by ECHDC. Both of these lump sum payments, totaling over $54 million, are expected this year. The accelerated funding will be used to complete a study and 3 capital improvements. These include the Buffalo River Walk feasibility study, improvements at the Bell Slip and Wilkinson Point on the Outer Harbor, and the new gateway building at Canal Side. ESD staff has determined that the action, which involves authorization to enter into the amended settlement agreement and industrial incentive award agreement, constitutes a Type 2 action as defined by the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act and the implementing regulations for the New York State DEC. No further environmental review is required in connection with this action. Implementation of the projects anticipated to be funding through these amended agreements have each been previously evaluated individually under seeker and determined to either be classified as Type 2 projects or been the subject of a prior determination of no effect under the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project made by the directors on November 9th of 2020, or they've been included in the finding statement for the Canal Side project final generic environmental impact statement, last evaluated as part of the Canal Side modified general project plan adopted by ESD on January 20th of this year. The directors are requested to enter into the amended settlement agreement and industrial incentive award agreement substantially on the terms set forth above, with such changes as the president of the corporation deems appropriate, and to take such actions as are necessary and appropriate in furtherance thereof. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested action. Robert?
Thank you, Steve. I'd like to remind everyone to please state your name if you have any questions or where you're speaking. Are there any questions or comments from the directors regarding this item? Hearing none, I will now entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Vogel. So move.
Thank you, Mike. Second?
Second, Donovan.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Before we move on, I think I would like to just take just a quick moment to express our, as a board, gratitude and satisfaction with what the Governor Hochul's support for Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation and this innovative step to really begin to start projects and move progress along on the waterfront and continue the great stuff that we're doing. So to Governor Hochul, to her entire team, and especially Joan Kesner of Western New York, and even Steve, you and your team for really allowing this to happen. I don't know that I can remember approving $54 million of income in a long time, and I think this is something that we should all be very pleased with, and we will take very seriously and all move forward. So I commend everyone for it, and if anyone else would like to make some comments, I would certainly welcome them too. If not, we can move on.
Chairman Joya, Connie Leiden.
Yes, Connie.
I would like to second everything that you have just said. This is such a wonderful opportunity, and we will take it seriously and honor this opportunity that we have been given.
Great. I know we all will. So now we can present our items that we are going to move forward with. And Steve, if you would explain to us the corporation to enter into a consultant agreement for the construction management services in connection with the Gateway Building project. Steve?
Great. Thanks again, Robert. It was in March of 2019 that we engaged a consulting firm to create a development strategy for the North Aud block. And this strategy, which was thoroughly vetted through a series of public meetings, was incorporated into the Canal Side Modified General Project Plan including revising design guidelines that was affirmed on February 18th earlier this year. While the majority of the North Odd Block is expected to be privately redeveloped, ECHDC reserved a small parcel along Commercial Street for the Gateway Building. The Gateway Building, which was referred to as Building Number 2 in the Canalside MGPP, is a multi-story mixed-use structure that's expected to be the first stop for all Canalside visitors, providing information, public restrooms, security, retail, as well as ADA accessibility between the two-level Canalside site, all at the same time while consolidating waterfront operations in this location. On June 15th of this year, we advertised for the Canalside Gateway Building Construction Management Services opportunity in the New York State Contract Reporter. On July 13th, we received and opened 5 proposals, all consisting of construction management teams. These proposals were reviewed and scored by our selection committee, and interviews were completed on August 9th before Buffalo Construction Consultants was selected as the top-ranked team. BCC is a local multidisciplinary construction management firm, and they are well suited for this project, having completed multiple projects for various state agencies requiring both management of active sites and budget management, including things as district-wide renovations for school districts. They're also very familiar with the process of working within the city of Buffalo and with other agencies in the immediate area. And in addition to BCC's extensive experience, nearly all sub-consultants on the proposed team have worked collaboratively on multiple projects. The team will be directed by President Joseph Manarino and Project Director Antonio Maselli. Mr. Manarino is very familiar with Canalside, as he served as project manager for the initial project back in 2000. The team clearly understands the complexity of the project and this site, as well as some of the key issues we'll be dealing with, including the construction schedule. Pursuant to state finance law, section 139J and 139K, and the corporation's policy related to it, staff has considered the contractor's ability to perform the services provided for in the proposed contract, and we've consulted the list of offers determined to be non-responsible bidders and debarred offers maintained by New York State's OGS. Based on the foregoing, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. The BCC team shall represent ECHDC throughout the pre-construction, construction, and post-construction phases. They'll maintain responsibility for the day-to-day management of the construction process, and they will deliver the Gateway Building on time, within budget, and of the highest quality. They'll also be responsible for coordinating with our design architect to identify value engineering solutions to save costs and keep the schedule, as well as developing and implementing a work plan that ensures that there are no deviations from the cost or the completion dates. BCC team shall provide and coordinate all necessary services in order to complete the task associated with the pre-construction, construction, and post-construction phases. The estimated project schedule includes the advertisement for construction of this project during this upcoming winter. We expect construction to begin in the summer of 2023, with the building to be ready in late 24 and open to the public in May of 2025. Total contract amount for the Buffalo Construction Consultants team to complete the above scope of work for this building project shall not exceed $1,250,898, which includes a contingency of $113,718. Funding source shall be the New York Power Authority Industrial Incentive Award. And ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy will apply to this contract. We have a participation goals, minority business enterprise goal of 15%, women business enterprise goal of 15%, as well as an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. Subconsultants on the team that will be utilized to comply with these goals include Rodriguez Construction Group, Bravo Lima Architecture, Compliance and Administrative Services of New York, and Trophy Point. Overall, the consultant team is expected to achieve a combined MWBE involvement of 30% and 36% when we include the SDVOB. ESD, as lead agency, completed an environmental review of the canal side project pursuant to seeker and the implementing regulations of the New York State DEC, and the ESD Board of Directors issued seeker findings for the project back on March 26th of 2010. Accordingly, ESD staff has also conducted an evaluation of potential effects on the now affirmed February 2022 MGPP that envision this project against those against those effects documented in the 2010 seeker documents. The evaluation determined that the assessments and proposed mitigation contained in this document would still adequately address any projected impacts of development under this MGPP. Therefore, no further environmental review is required in connection with this action. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant, to authorize the corporation to enter into a contract with the Buffalo Construction Consultants for an amount not to exceed $1,137,180 plus a $113,718 contingency for a total contract amount of $1,250,898 and to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments from the directors with regard to this item?
Mr. Chairman, this is Mike Vogel. In urging adoption of this measure, I would just like to state my opinion that this is an extremely essential building for Canal Side. It'd be not only a home base for the corporation, but it is a much needed public access portal with interpretive possibilities and also just guidance to the Canal Side and its heritage. But it also allows us to have, as a corporation, a very important public access route to the lower canal, the replica Erie Canal that's so popular for skating and other activities. As we build out around that canal, I think it's essential that we keep a very robust public pathway down to the activity areas. And also this building, I think design will be important because it will be a model for what we hope developers will do with the North Odd Block site. So I urge adoption of this measure.
Well stated, Mike. Thank you. Anyone else? I will now entertain a motion for approval.
Mr. Chairman, Mike Vogel, so move.
Do I have a second?
Connie Lyden, second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, everyone. The motion carries. Steve, will next present a request for the corporation to amend its contract with T.Y. Lin for architecture and engineering services in connection with the North Odd Block development project. Steve?
Great, thank you. The T.Y. Lin design team was originally approved for a consultant agreement back in March of 2019. And then in February of 2021, the board approved additional scope of work for T.Y. Lin to design one of the buildings within our preferred concept, again, building number 2, or now refer to it as the Gateway Building. So we're looking for the consultant to provide necessary services including but not limited to the scope of work that's described here in the board materials. These services were sought as part of the original RFP. However, only tasks 1 through 5 have been awarded by the board to date. Staff is hoping to amend the scope of task 5 so that we can incorporate some of our own owner-directed program modifications to the project, as well as what we expect to be value engineering items coming under the construction manager's agreement, which the board just approved. Now that the previous tasks have been completed, and the proposed amendment will continue to allow work on this project, including bidding and construction phases. The estimated project schedule will obviously run concurrent with the construction manager schedule that we just talked about, with construction advertisement expected this winter, and again, construction to begin on the Gateway building in the summer of 2023. This consultant amendment will cover fees and expenses over an approximate 31-month period, and the amendment amount with the T.Y. Lin team to complete this scope of work shall not exceed $351,698, including a contingency of $50,000, for a total amended contract amount of $1,559,248. Funding source shall be the New York Power Authority Industrial Incentive Award. Again, ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policy will apply to this contract. And we have overall minority business enterprise participation goal of 15%, a women business enterprise participation goal of 15%, and in this case, an SDVOB participation goal of 3%. Directors made a determination of no significant effect on the environment for the Canal Side Land Use Improvement Project at their meeting on December 13th of 2021. That was included in the modified general project plan. The North Odd Block project in Building 2 here, or the Gateway building now, was included in the approved MGPP. This determination addressed all aspects of the project, including construction activities covered under this contract, and therefore no further environmental review is required in connection with the action. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed consultant, authorize the corporation to enter into a contract amendment with T.Y. Lin for an amount not to exceed $301,698 plus a $50,000 contingency for a total amended contract amount of $1,559,248 and to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions regarding this matter? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Julie Bernese, so moved.
Do we have a second?
Mike Vogel, second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve, please continue and present the request for the corporation to enter in a general construction services contract in connection with the Buffalo Outer Harbor. Steve?
Okay. On November 9th of 2020, the directors adopted a general project plan for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project that authorized improvement projects at Terminal B, Lakeside Complex, Bell Slip, Slip number 3, and Wilkeson Point as Phase 1 projects. As described in the GPP, the Bell Slip sub-area will receive improvements that will reorganize the existing parking, provide a comfort station including restrooms, and enhance the landscaping, which together will all provide a new sense of place. Greenbelt Trail will be modified to connect to the Furman Greenway at the new roundabout on Furman Boulevard. The existing Greenbelt Trail along the edge of the Bell Slip will remain, but with a narrower width for pedestrian traffic. Along the back side of the Comfort Station will be a concrete patio and a walking path leading down to the edge of the Bell Slip that will terminate at an overlook. And a large portion of the site will include soil amendments and landscaping improvements, meadows, grasslands, and pollinator fields. With the oversight of our construction manager, Turner Construction, the Bell Slip project was broken down into 4 separate bid packages related to the various trades. On July 19th of this year, ECHDC solicited bids for 4 separate Bell Slip improvement project contracts that we advertised in the New York State Contract Reporter. Before I review the specifics of this action, which are related to general construction, I do want to take a second to explain that this item, as well as the next 3 items on today's agenda, that would be items, we're on item 4, as well as 5, 6, and 7. So while these are individual contract awards requiring individual board approvals, these will together allow for the overall renovation of the Bell Slip area. So again, this current item is for general construction contract, for which a total of 2 bids were received on August 9th of 2022. ECHDC and our construction manager de-scoped Javen Construction, the low bidder, on August 22nd. Turner Construction recommends awarding the contract to Javen Construction, who was found by ECHDC to be the lowest responsible bidder. For nearly 40 years, Javen Construction has been in the business of providing Western New York and beyond with services in the construction industry. They have worked on a number of private and public projects in the city of Buffalo, and currently they are working for ECHDC on our Terminal B renovations. Pursuant to state finance law, section 139J and K, and the corporation's policy related thereto, we've reviewed the contractor for their ability to perform the services, as well as consulted the list of offers determined to be non-responsible bidders and debarred offers maintained by the OGS. And based on those reviews, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. Javen Construction's scope of services will include new steel framing prep and painting, metal studs and wallboard, building enclosures, interior finishes, and some select site work immediately adjacent to the building. The contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $1,869,000, as delineated in the project plans and specifications dated July 15th, 2022, along with 4 addenda that were provided during the bidding period. The project is slated to begin shortly and expected to be completed by the end of the year 2023. ECHDC intends to issue a notice to proceed to Javen Construction in the amount of $50,000 to begin to submit material based on long lead items. Funding source shall be a fiscal year 17-18 New York State budget appropriation, the Buffalo Regional Innovation Cluster. ESD's non-discrimination and contract and supplier diversity policy will apply to this project. The contractor will be required to use good faith efforts to achieve an overall minority and women business enterprise participation goal of 30% and a service disabled veteran-owned business participation goal of 6%. The directors made a determination of no significant effect on the environment for the Buffalo Outer Harbor Civic and Land Use Improvement Project at their meeting on November 9th, 2020. This determination addressed all aspects of the proposed project, including construction activities covered under this contract. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with Javen Construction for an amount not to exceed $1,659,000 plus a $210,000 contingency for a total contract amount of $1,869,000 and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions.
Thank you, Steve. Are any questions or comments from any of the directors with regard to this item?
Chairman Joya,
Mr. Chairman.
Connie Lyden.
Yes, Connie.
Yes, Steve, if you could explain, please, within the scope of work for Javin Construction, what select site work entails? That's at the
Typically
bottom of page 2.
Yep. Yeah. Typically, for the general contractor, they work within about a 5-foot perimeter of the building foundation. So the site work will likely include some of the final hookups for sewer, water, things like that, even potentially conduit for electric or data. So it's just in the immediate vicinity of the foundation, which they're responsible for.
Okay, thank you.
Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mike Vogel. I just wanted to note for the record that this and the other 3 contracts under this project kind of reveal a difficulty that is increasingly common in the post-pandemic, post-supply line disruption world, and that's the difficulty of finding bidders at all. I'm pleased that we have qualified bidders. Normally, when we look at a resolution that's recommended to us, we kind of assume that staff has done a lot of the work and just lightly review the responsible finding that we have to as a prelude to the main resolution. But in this case, I'm pleased that we have responsible bidders, 1 or 2 of them in some cases. But I think it's incumbent on us to show a little bit of appreciation for staff for working through that problem and getting people that are qualified to actually do this work and for the most part keep things within budget and within scope of the project. And I just wanted to say that for the record.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Anything else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Thank you, Mike. Second?
Julie Barnese, second.
Thank you, Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Steve, how about talking to us about the request for the corporation to enter into a contract for electrical construction services in connection with the Buffalo Outer Harbor? Steve?
Thanks, Robert. Again, as just discussed in the previous item, the overall belt slip project was broken down into 4 separate bid packages. And on July 19th, we also solicited bids for these four packages in the contract reporter. This item is specifically for the electrical construction contract. Sorry. In this case, as Mike noted earlier, we only received 1 bid on August 19th, and that was from CIR, Electrical Construction Corporation. Turner Construction, again, our construction manager for these projects, descoped them and recommends awarding the contract to CIR Electrical, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. For over 45 years, CIR Electric has been in the business of providing this area with electrical services in the construction industry. They have worked on a number of projects as well in the city of Buffalo, including doing work for ECHDC regularly, both on some of our construction projects, but also a lot of our capital maintenance projects, in particular at Canal Side. Pursuant to state finance law, sections 139J and K again, and the corporation's policy related, Again, we reviewed the contractor, their ability to perform this project, as well as consulted OGS to see if they've been non-responsive or debarred. Based on that review, staff considers the proposed contractors to be responsible. CIR Electric, their scope of services will include routing electric services from Furman Boulevard to the Bell Slip site, distribution of the electric service within the site, including exterior lighting and miscellaneous electrical connections for equipment that will be installed by other contractors. This contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $1,086,088, as delineated in the plans and specs dated July 15th, 2022, along with the 4 addenda provided during the bidding period. And again, this project is expected to be completed by December 31st of 2023. Again, we intend to issue a notice to proceed to CIR in the amount of $50,000 to begin the submittal material information based on long lead items. Funding source shall be the New York Power Authority relicensing agreement. And as such, with the previous contract, ESD's non-discrimination and contractor and supplier diversity policies will also apply to this contract. CIR shall be required to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB goal of 6%. Again, the directors made a determination of no significant effect on the environment as part of the Outer Harbor CPP back in November of 2022. And again, no further environmental review is required in connection with this action. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with CIR Electric for an amount not to exceed $987,353 with a $98,735 contingency for a total contract amount of $1,086,088, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments from any of the directors? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Thank you, Mike. Do we have a second?
Julie Barnese, second.
Thank you, Julie. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Hearing none, thank you. The motion is approved. Steve, next is the corporation to enter into a contract for site work construction services in connection with the Buffalo Outer Harbor.
Again, thanks. 2 down, 2 to go, folks. Again, on July 19th, we solicited bids for the Bell Slip improvements project, including for site work construction. And on August 9th, we received 4 bids for the site work. ECHDC and Turner descoped Scott Lawn Yard, the apparent low bidder, on August 18th. And Turner Construction recommends awarding the contract to Scott Lawn Yard, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. Scott Lawn Yard has been in business for almost 40 years. They've worked on a number of projects in the city, as well as for both local and state government agencies. Again, they have done work for us at ECHDC at Canal Side, both along the Central Wharf as well as the recent parking lot improvements. And they've also done some of the major improvements that have occurred at Buffalo Harbor State Park over the last 5 years. Pursuant to state finance law, section 139J and K again, we considered their ability to perform the services, and we consulted with the OGS list, if you will. Based on the foregoing, staff does consider Scott Lawn Yard to be a responsible contractor. Their scope of services will include clearing the existing paved site, establishing site parameters, excavating for site utilities, installing landscaped and fence materials, as well as finishing up new surface walkways, drives, and some of the site enclosures. Contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $2,231,571, as delineated again in those same plans and specs dated July 15th, along with the 4 addenda that were issued during the bidding period. The project is expected, again, along with the other 2, to wrap up by the end of 2023. ECHDC also intends to issue a notice to proceed to Scott Lawn Yard for $50,000 to begin to submit material information based on long lead items, as well as to establish the site perimeter. The funding source shall be the New York Power Authority relicensing agreement. Again, we will have an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. And just to note here, Scott Lawn Yard is a state-certified women business enterprise contractor themselves. Directors, again, made a determination of no significant effect as it relates to the environment for the Outer Harbor in November of 2020. Therefore, no further environmental review is required. The directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, to authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with Scott Lawn Yard for an amount not to exceed $1,940,496, plus a $291,075 contingency, for a total contract amount $2,231,571, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of the requested actions. Back to you, Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments from any of the directors regarding this item?
Hello, Mr. Chairman, this is Byron Brown. After the final item is presented and voted on, I'd like to just make a very brief comment, few brief comments.
Fine, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Julie Bernese, so moved.
Thank you, Julie. Do I have a second?
Mike Vogel, second.
Mike, thank you. Any opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
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 The item carries. Thank you very much. Steve, now for the final item and today's agenda, the authorization to enter into a contract for mechanical construction services in connection with the Buffalo Outer Harbor. Steve?
Thanks, Robert. For this item, a total of 1 bid was received on August 9th for the mechanical construction contract related to the Bell Slip project. Turner Construction de-scoped and recommends awarding the contract to MKS Plumbing, who was found to be the lowest responsible bidder. MKS has been in business for over 25 years and have worked on a number of projects, again, both in the city as well as with ECHD, and in fact, they are currently a member of our team out of the Terminal B project. We reviewed them as well regarding state finance law, sections 139J and K, and based on that, staff considers the proposed contractor to be responsible. MKS Plumbing's scope of services will include routing all the mechanical and plumbing services from Furman Boulevard over to the new Comfort Station, distribution of gas and water lines, as well as installation of mechanical systems within the building and installation of all plumbing fixtures. This contract is a lump sum contract in an amount not to exceed $131,000 as delineated on the same plans and specs dated July 15th and the 4 addenda that were provided during the bidding period. The project is expected to be completed along with the others by December 31st of 2023. And the funding source for this is the fiscal year 17-18 New York State budget appropriation, the Buffalo Regional Innovation Cluster. Like the others before it, the contractor shall be required to achieve an overall MWBE participation goal of 30% and an SDVOB participation goal of 6%. Again, in keeping with the others, there is no further environmental review required in connection with this action. So the directors are requested to make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, authorize the corporation to enter into a construction contract with MKS Plumbing for an amount not to exceed $119,000 plus a $12,000 contingency for a total contract amount of $131,000, and to authorize the corporation to take all related actions. Based on the foregoing, I recommend approval of these requested actions. Robert.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments regarding this item?
Chairman Joya, Connie Lyden, I have a comment.
Yes, Connie.
In the portions of this project where we only have one responsible bidder, I think we really need to keep a really good eye on the contingencies and make sure they're really necessary. So that would just mean keeping a really good eye throughout the whole process, just because we don't have anything else to compare our numbers to.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
Yes. Connie, absolutely. This is Steve here. Absolutely, we agree. And that's why we've got, Turner Construction on board as our construction manager. Mark Wendell has been the project manager throughout and will be involved during the entire process from our end as well. And, even though we are receiving a few less bids on this project than maybe we have in the past, I will tell you that in the case of the electrical here, the plumbing, the mechanical contract, it is in line with the engineer's estimate. So that said, we'll continue to watch all contingencies. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Any other comments or questions? I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Mike Vogel, so move.
Thank you, Mike. Second?
Connie Lyden, second.
Connie, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And are there any of those opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. At his request, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mayor Brown. Mayor Brown, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, board members. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to make a few brief comments, Mr. Chairman. One, I would like to request in the presentation documents that when there are multiple bidders, we list the companies that have bid, even the unsuccessful bidders. I think that would be helpful in seeing who is responding to our RFPs. That is one request. Secondly, in the aftermath of May 14, there has been a lot of discussion about the plight of the Black community. And I was noticing in looking at many of these companies that will be receiving contracts to do this work, that there are few Black-owned, Buffalo-based minority and women-owned businesses that are receiving contracts. I'd like to suggest that perhaps we hold a meeting with Buffalo-based Black and female business owners just to talk about potential opportunities for contracting with the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation going forward, particularly as we are coming out of the pandemic. A lot of companies are still trying to get their legs under them, and maybe the opportunity to bid on some of this work just passed some of these companies by. I'd be more than happy to participate in such a meeting if we could hold one with Buffalo-based Black-owned, minority, and women-owned businesses. And then my final point, and I'm sure that we have, as we've looked at a number of similar developments across the country, this past weekend, I was at a meeting at the National Harbor in Maryland. Was very impressed with what they did there. A good number of hotels, retailers, restaurants, attractions, and going into a number of the hotels, the retailers, the restaurants, the attractions, the African American employment base was incredibly significant there. Certainly something I would like to see us be able to duplicate here in the city of Buffalo.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would echo your support for trying to convene these folks. Steve, do you have any comments, observations?
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. If I just kind of take them quickly in order, Mr. Mayor, we have been listing when we receive multiple bids. Again, in a couple of instances here with the bell slip, we only received one, but typically in our consultant selection process, part of the board materials, if there are more than one bidder, we do list those, as well as listing the MWBE or SDVOB firms in our board materials as well. But certainly to increase the number of Buffalo-based, Black and women-owned businesses bidding on our work and any other, we would certainly love to take you up on a joint opportunity. I'm sure we can get our Empire State Development folks involved as well to host some outreach at Canal Side or the Outer Harbor to increase the opportunities for those folks.
Thank you, Steve.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that comment.
Yep, very much so. Anything else from anyone? Well, hearing none, ladies and gentlemen, it's been quite a productive morning. A lot moving, many, many millions of dollars going to be put back into the community, and especially going to have an impact on not only the inner, but also the outer harbor. So I thank everyone for their participation today, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Have a good morning.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Thanks.